Right. Lanka. They are planning to do more calculations and so important. So then your concentration, your focus should be there. So then we can do a effective session today, right? Basically, I am planning to discuss routine calculation and make some routine calculation. And what's the basic approach how we can do a consolidation question, right? Actually, last week we had a kind of a basic recap about consolidation. You can start from that. I have uploaded some of the materials to the LMS. So that continuously I am uploading some materials to LMS because this session is the longest session in the degree this subject, right? So then continuously I am uploading different questions, different reading materials. Actually, some of the materials I have not prepared because that much lengthy, right? So then I will tell you that the focus area, so then you can focus that accordingly, right? Questions I'm recommending don't depend on this question. You can prefer ACCA, Tata, SIMA questions. Whatever the consolidation, same theory, you can use all the questions. You can raise up any questions you have, and this is the last time you are learning consolidation, right? Last time you are learning consolidation basic aspects. Once you are doing consolidation, I am very different arguable scenarios, right? Right. Okay. So then, one by one, step by step, today we try to learn consolidation. Okay. Basically, last week we discussed different standards we can relate to this. Basically, SLFRS 3 business combination, and then SLFRS 10 consolidated financial statement. That is the basic standard. SLFRS 10. This is the basic standard, and then SLFRS 3 can be used for business combination, right? Consolidation as a result of business combination. Once you are having a business combination, you may have a consolidation if it is a subsidiary acquisition. So that's a simple link between this standard and this. In this standard, there may be some other business combination. It may be acquisition of subsidiary, it may be acquisition of some other way. It's a business combination, right? Merger, acquisition, different business combination. But if it is a subsidiary acquisition, you need to do consolidation, right? Consolidation. Last week we discussed why we need to do consolidation. What's the reason? As a one entity, we may have different entity in a one kind of a group. It may be a subsidiary, associate, joint venture, joint arrangement, different set of companies may be there. As an investor over there, that group, they want to get understanding about overall perspective. as a one single economic entity. Now, provide information about economic entity. Investor needs information about all assets and liabilities of the combined entity. So then who requests this? The investors in the parent company, not subsidiary companies. Subsidiary companies, investors, they don't care about the consolidation. Who requests this? The parent company investors. They want to see what is the composition of their investment. What happened to their investment? Basically, they have invested to increase their wealth. Wealth means, in other words, net asset. Net asset. Net asset. To evaluate the net asset, you need to see the combined size. That's what you do. I consolidation කරන්න කියලා හොවොත් කියන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්න ඕන. ඊට පස්සේ සයින් දෙක තුනක් පස්සේ දාවනේ. Parent company එකක් console කරන්න ඕනද කියලා හොවොත්. Is that a requirement? If you are having kind of a parent company, once you are doing financial statements, you may have two setups. It may be an individual company, maybe a parent company. So the once you are having parent, it can be මොකද්ද? ඔය parent කෙනෙක් වෙනවා කියන්නේ ඔයාලට අනිවාර්යෙන් ළමයි ඉන්නවා කියන්නේ. You are having subsidiaries, associates, or joint ventures. The main is parent and individual company. As an accountant, once you are preparing your financial statement, you are preparing two sets of financial statement. One is individual financial statement for the parent entity and individual financial statement for individual entity. If you are having a parent company, for parent we are preparing consolidated financial statement, right? Financial statement. To the parent company as well, we can prepare the individual financial statement as well. Keep in mind that. So that if you are the accountant for parent company, you should prepare individual financial as well as the consolidated financial statement. It means as accountant, in future you may prepare two sets of financial statement. One is individual financial statements, or else, and then other word, consolidated financial statement side, right? So then here we have a doubt. We have a question. As a parent company, is it a kind of a requirement to prepare consolidated financial statement? Is it a must, or can we get an exemption? So we are having some exemptions. As a parent, we don't want to prepare consolidated financial statement in each scenario. So these are the exemptions. Before we are going to the consolidation, we want to see at which time we need to do the consolidation. That's a critical aspect. Now we know what is a group. As a group, what's the requirement of consolidation? At which point we need to do consolidation? Can we get a payout? That's what we are having here. Having this background is really important, right? What are the scenarios? This is a parent company. Sometimes we don't want to prepare consolidated financial statement. So we have scenario 4, no? 4 scenarios. 4 scenarios. We don't want to prepare consolidated financial statement. Yeah. Normally, in a consolidated financial statement, once you are having a parent company, sometimes you are the full occupied parent, or else you may have less than 100% stake, maybe more than 50%, right? In this scenario, outside part may be there, maybe 20% or 30%. We call as NCI, non-controlling interest or minority interest. So then, if you are not presenting consolidated financial statement, there is no such an obligation from that party. If it is so, we don't want to prepare consolidated financial statement. And then we don't have any securities, equity or debt securities trading in the market. So then, if you don't have that, we don't want to, we can get that exemption. And then the last one, this is the one slide quickly coming to the mind. If you are having ultimate parent, that parent may do the consolidation, right? So then that will be available for public use. If it is so, you don't need to do the consolidation, right? And the third one, that's again relating to the second one, right? It did not file or is in the process of filing the financial statement for purpose of issuing any class of financial instrument in public market. Second one and third one you can interlink. That's related to the listed securities. If you have not issued listed securities, then you have kind of exemption. The management can decide that. So this is a very critical area that can be tested in the Excel. Most of the cases, this will be a question in ACCA, CMA, chartered papers, maybe in your paper. Right? So what are the exceptions? So then CFO suggesting to not to do consolidated financial statement. As accountant, what are the ground, what are the standard references to support this suggestion? So maybe the evaluate the Caliper number is ABCPL. Another set of head and they have to do consolidation, right? So what minimum people then a real scenario that comes government income. Government and then people's bank income. People's bank. People's bank is people's leasing income. People's leasing company. People's leasing company, people's insurance income. People's bank is a listed company not according to my knowledge. It was established based on a separate act. This is not a listed company. This is a listed company. People's leasing company. People's leasing is a listed company. People's leasing PLC. Right? People's insurance PLC. It's a listed company. So then, here we have a question. People's Bank is ultimate parent. This is a sub-subsidiary, People's Insurance. When question cannot, People's Leasing, again, ultimate, People's Insurance, ultimate parent, People's Bank is a console parent. People's Leasing is console parent. People's Insurance, do we need to do consolidation? Yes, we have to do. It's a separate listed company. Separate, they have published equity securities. Because of that, they have to publish console account for them. මෙයාට තියෙන්න ඕන සබ්සිඩියරි දෙක තුනක්. මේක ඉන්ඩිවිජුවල් කම්පැනි එකක් කන්සෝල් කරන්නේ. LOLC group එක. LOLC group. LOLC group they are having LOLC insurance and then LOFIN. LLC finance. LLC finance, they don't have any subsidiary. They don't want to do consolidation. It's a listed company. LLC finance PLC. A listed company. To do the consolidation, they should have at least one subsidiary. So that's the basic understanding should have. Consolidated accounts, right? Standard එකකට ගියානේ last week. ඒකටත් ගිහින් බලමු නේ. We have all the definitions. That's the benefit of these SLFRSs. You can read the IFRS 10 also, right? Similar. අද ස්ටෑන්ඩඩ් බුක් එක ගෙනාවේ නැහැ SLFRS බුක් එක මේ ලොකු වැඩි උසන් ඉන්න බෑ. So here we have the definition. Consolidated financial statements. But it says the financial statement of a group in which the asset, liabilities, equity, income, expenses, and cash flow of the parent and its subsidiaries are presented as those of a single economic entity. Subsidiaries, මේක අපොඩ හැදෙන්න ඕන definition එක standard එකේ. Subsidiary වෙන පුළුවන් subsidiary වෙන. Right? Subsidiary එකක් තිබුණා consolidation. You have to should do a consolidation. You are having any one single entity. It is subsidiary, right? And then before you are consolidating, you need to justify that it is a subsidiary. It is a subsidiary. That's a very critical aspect. To justify it is a subsidiary. To that, what we have to do is we need to justify the control of an investee. Control over the investee. That's the important decision. How you are going to decide the controlling power, decision-making power. So then that's a very critical aspect. We can discuss like 2-3 hours. How we are going to discuss, how we are going to decide the power over the, how can manage the control through the power, right? Assessing control definition of a consolidation. Last week we discussed, sometimes we have understanding, we should have more than 50% stake, more than like 80%, 100% stake control. We need to satisfy if we are having any one element, we need to do consolidation, right? I mentioned that for the previously discussed this point we are doing the consolidation. This point we are doing the consolidation. These 5 elements, if we are not having any one single point, you have to do the consolidation. Not only all 4, right? I hope you understood it. So then you are having kind of a non-listed company. Non-listed company. Non-listed company. Let's say this type of scenario. Non-listed company. You are having ultimate parent. Ultimate parent. You are the intermediate parent company. scenario එකක් ගන්න. exam එකේ දෙනා වගේ එකක් නේ. හරි මේ ඉතින් මට තියපු T එක නෙවෙයි කලින් එකනේ. මෙහෙම එකක් හිතන්නකෝ. හොඳයි ක්වෙස්චන් එක අහපු වෙන්න. නැත්නම් මේ එක්සැම්පල් එකකින් නැහැ නේ. රියල් එක්සැම්පල් එකක් ගමු. Amana Holding. Amana Holding is a private company. Private limited company. It's having many subsidiary companies. Amana Assets, Amana Wealth, Amana Capital, iCapital, different subsidiaries. Amana Asset is another private limited having 4 different subsidiaries. This is a private limited. This is a private limited. No listed shares. Here, matak wenne මේ subsidiary ABCD. Amana Asset having subsidiaries. Amana Holding having subsidiaries. One subsidiary is a group company. Question is, do we need to do consolidation for Amana Asset? Amana Asset. Amana Asset is a kind of an intermediary payer. It's ultimately. To ask the question, what's the stake of Amana Holding over Amana Asset? Is 80%. Then, to that 20% stake of Amana Asset with other parties in CI. Then you need to evaluate these items. These two straight away we can remove. This also can be removed. Why? Ultimate parent Amana Holding, obviously they do the consolidation. Right? So then first one is a doubt. So then if this MCI 20% request to do consolidation, they should provide. That's your answer. That's depend on this their decision. මෙයා මෙහෙම කිව්වොත් මෙතන 80 නෙවෙයි මෙතන 100. This 100. This 100 we don't have NCI. There's no request. So Amana Holding company has decided not to do consolidation for Amana Asset. Right? Are you okay? We don't have listed securities. So that decision pretty clear. So that decision is totally comply with the CLFR. Okay. Other no. If it is 100%, 80% now, they go level capacity rate. අපි හිතනවා ක්ලියර් කියලා. ප්‍රශ්න තේරෙන්නේ නැත්නම් අහන්න. දැම්මම ක්ලියර් කරගෙන නිදා ගන්න එපා. නැගිටලා උනත් අහන් ඉන්න. මෙතන ඉන්නවා නැගිටලා ඇවිල්ලා ඉන්න පුළුවන්. කොන්සොලිඩේෂන් එක කරන්න. But you know now what's the group being මේක නම් අපේ ලියන්නේ ඉන්න වෙනවා මේ හතරලා ලියන්නේ ඉන්න වෙනවා දැන් ධර්ම මතක තියාගන්න ඉස්තර නිකන් security related දෙකයි ultimate parent හදනවා කියන එකයි. අවවාදී minority business එකක් තියෙනවා නම් එයාට බොදල් කරනවා නම් හදනවා කියලා. හදන්න ඕන. ඒ වගේ මත පිළිලා ගන්න හරි නැත්නම් අනිවාර්යෙන් පේපර් එක කියනවා. Right. This is the critical part. Justification of control. That's the very judgmental area. The area you need professional judgment, your evaluation, your competency, for justification of a subsidiary. If you are doing this, that evaluation is very critical before you are doing the consolidation. Otherwise, it will giving kind of a very different picture in your consolidated question. Let's say you are having 10 subsidiaries. You need to justify control over the subsidiaries. That's a must. If you can't do that, you are going to consolidation without you doing it, everything you will start. So then auditors may request to reassess your numbers. Will make you very difficult situation if you are starting your consolidation without justifying the controlling aspect. How you can decide that? How you can decide? Controlling. What's the element we are focusing? Controlling means directing, and we have different answers. You mean control over asset, controlling the benefit over that. That's the understanding. Whatever the benefit you are getting from that asset, you have control. Which period you are getting, how much you want to get. The return from that particular asset will be controlled through your decisions. That is the evaluation you have to do. Then we have a word to your decision, to your activities. So investing will do some activities. That's called ability to direct the relevant activities. Ability to direct the relevant activities. That is called power. With the power, you are directing some activities of the entity to enhance your will, your return, to manage the return of the entity. That is called control. How you are going to assess this? That is the doubt. The link between power and the return and the variable returns. So then we have three evaluations here: power, variable returns, and link between power and the return. You need to evaluate these three elements. Let's say we'll get an example. We are having kind of a hotel company, and we may have different investors. Let's say investor ABC company Star PLC, 20%, 30%, again 50%. We have three investors. Now you need to justify who is the parent company. To justify that, what you have to confirm the control over the entity. Control over the entity, then we should have separated that. Who is the party going to control these activities of this entity to change the return? Right? So then, who is the party having more power? The part of the justify කරගන්න ඕන control. Control justify කරන්න ගියාම අපි අහන මොකක්ද? Do you have the power? Do you have the power to change the return generated from this entity? Do we have the power? We have to evaluate this power. That is the question. How we are going to evaluate this power? It may be the decision-making power, maybe the voting rights, or some voting rights may be having some options, right? Priorities may be there. All those things should be evaluated to decide this power. The question may say that, question may highlight that how you can decide this composition. So that before you are doing a consolidation, you need to justify each and every subsidiary should be this power and the control from their parent. Otherwise, not a subsidiary. And that power and the control should keep during the period. If you are losing that control in some point of the time, at that point of time onwards, we can't do consolidation. So to do the consolidation, we should have subsidiaries, and then we should have kind of a group to do the consolidation. We need to in line with the standard, plus we need to keep the control over the entity for the period of time. Right? ඕන ලියා ගන්න හොඳ. ඕන නෝට් දෙන්නේ නැහැ. නෝට් දීලා කරොත් අවුරුද්දක් විතර ලෙක්චර් සීරීස් එක කරන්නේ. මේ නෝට් එක දාලා ඉතින් නෝට් එක කියලා ඒක කරන්නේ. එහෙම කරනවා නම් ලස්සන නෝට් එකක් කියන්න පුළුවන්. To do the consolidation, first what we have to have? We should have group of companies, right? It should be a parent company, in other words, right? It should be a group company. It should be a group. And then, in other words, parent. And then sometimes parents may not do consolidation. Sometimes parent may not do consolidation. For that, we have standard reference. Right, these are the scenario. Sometimes parents may not do the consolidation, right? So then, එහෙම ලස්සන තමයි මොකනේ? උරු ලස්සන ලියන වැඩේට ලොකු ප්‍රශ්නයක් තිබේ. අන්න දෙයක් නැහැ. එහෙම තමයි papers කියලා දෙන්නේ. එහෙම තමයි notes book නැහැ කවදාවත්. නෝට් ලියන්නත් බෑ නෝට් ලියලත් නැහැ වැඩි. අනුන්ගේ නෝට් වලින් තාක්ෂේ අනිත් කටේ නෝට් වලින් තමයි පාඩම් කරලා තියෙන්නේ. මේ හැබැයි කියන වෙලාවට ඔළුවට යනවා. ඔළුවේ තමයි නෝට් එක තියෙන්නේ. right. Consolidation, there should be a group. Group එකේ එයා parent වෙන්න ඕන. parent එකක් තියෙනවා decision දෙකක්. yes, no. no කියන්න තියෙන criteria හතරක්. අන්න එහෙම තියාගන්න නේ. yes නම් මොකද තියෙන්නේ? control එක තියෙන්න ඕන. control over the entity. Entity means subsidiary. Okay? For the period of time you expect to do the consolidation. එහෙම ලියා ගන්න. එතකොට ඔයාලගේ note process එක ලස්සනට හැදෙනවා. කොහොමද console කරන්න ඕනේ? ඇයි console කරන්න ඕනේ? That's really important. Control over the entity, it means subsidiary. For the period of time you expect to do the consolidation. this control may become through the power of controlling the return. Power of controlling the return. Power of controlling the return. In other words, the ability to direct the ability to direct activities of the subsidiary to get increase the variable return. In your terms, you can write basically what's the purpose. Your power will be used to change the variable return. Then පරණ ලියාගන්න බැරි වෙන්නේ. කොහොමද ලියාගන්නේ? Power of controlling the return. Control කියන්නේ මොකක්ද? The power of controlling the return. In other words, the ability to direct activities of the subsidiary to get or increase the variable return. That's called controlling. Right. Then we have activities. අපි activities කියන වචනේට දාගමුද මේ business activities කියලා. ඒක ලස්සනයි. Business activities. මොකද ස්ටෑන්ඩඩ් එකේ කියනවා. මෙතන business activities කියන වචනේ. බලන්නකො මේකේ. කියන්නේ නැද්ද? Business. We have a definition in the standard for business, right? CFRS 3 clearly says what's a business. So then here we should mention that business activities. That's a technical word. We don't have separate wording for business activities, but we can say that whatever the activities in a business, we can define that business activity. So then that activity should be direct the change the return. Some of the activities may not be change the return. The body activities here return will change the සමහර activities return එකට impact එකක් නැහැ. So then activities of the subject to increase, change, get the high return, change the return of the entity. That's really important. For the business combination, when you are doing your goodwill calculation, you have to calculate goodwill, right? At a business combination, we may have acquirer and a business. We are going to acquire a business. It's called business combination. We are merging, we are combining two business. We call as business combination. At that point, we have to calculate the goodwill. Right? Once you are investing in a subsidiary, you can say that it's a kind of a combination. The combination. So these are the examples of relevant activities, relevant business activities, right? What are they? Buying and selling goods and services, managing financial asset, funding structure and obtaining fundings. So these are the business activities, right? Through the power, you are controlling these activities. How are we going to do that change? By using decisions. Decision may be policy decisions, budgetary decisions, maybe applying some standards or appointing, removing directors. So then these are the actions. These are the activities. Through these activities, what we are going to do, we are changing the return. Right? By using the power, you are doing this task, these decisions, right? To change these activities. Now, our company you are in a company. You are appointing a director. Through that directorship, what you are going to do? You are impacting the decision. What are the decisions? It may be appointing some CFO, some other person, and maybe budgetary control, or establish a kind of a procedural framework. So then by using this decision, you are doing that business activities. You are focusing, you are controlling the business activities. In a business, you may have different activities. You are planning to decentralize some operations. You are going to establish a branch network. You are going to create a kind of a website as a business activity. You will have kind of a complaint management mechanism. Recently, you you are getting more complaint. What you are going to do now? You are putting kind of a chatbot in the website. That's the business decision, right? Through that business decision, you are planning to control your return. If you are having more priority for your decisions, it is called control through the power, right? So then here we have how we are going to get this power. As I mentioned, that may be one entity may be having 100% voting rights. That may be a one indication. Basically, the voting rights. Clear that the operating and financial policies are the relevant activities of that entity. So through the power, through the voting rights, you can control the entity. So that's really important. That's why I told that there someone will ask from you in a group, ABC company having 20% stake. 20% stake. Alright. What do you think? 20% stake? Can ABC company control that subsidiary? ABC having 20% stake over PQR company. Someone will ask 20% stake. ABC do the consultation for PQR. You need to establish controlling power. For that, what you have to do? You want some more information about the structure. You can't say that 20% giving kind of a controlling power. Controlling power over relevant activities. Through relevant activities, can you, by using power, can you change variable return? You need to establish that. එහෙනම් මම මොකද්ද බලන්න ඕනේ? මේ 20% වල voting power එක බලන්න. නේද? මම බලන්න ඕනේ power එක කොච්චරක් තියෙනවද යාට. power එක මොකටද? You change the business activities. Keep in mind, change the business activities. To evaluate the power, it's a judgmental call. What you are going to do now? You have to evaluate the power. මෙහෙම ප්‍රශ්නයක් ආපු ගමන් we need to justify the power of 20% stake. To justify the power, we need to know the further capital structure. එතකොට කියනවා ABC is one stakeholder. They are having other maybe 80 stakeholders. 80 stakeholders, they are having 1% share. 1% shareholding. 1% shareholding with 80%, and you have 20% share, then 100%. How about now? You are having 20% voting right. Other shareholders in the company, in PQR company, how many shareholders? 81 shareholders. 80 shareholders having 1%, you are having 20%. Then you can console. Why? You have the more power through the voting right. Okay. So then we can't say that 20% can't be consolidated. That is the decision to be taken in the question paper. We have to justify that. The question paper is silent now. 80% again, controlling power assume we have to have assumption. 80% stake means that perfect, that parent company having, I assume that parent company having the power of controlling the subsidiary activities. 81 shareholders legal paper. There is that also is there for the there is that how you are if you not understand what it is, quickly if you are discussing about what is the basis of consolidation, what's the basis? We need to establish the controlling power for your consolidation. That's the thing. To do the consolidation, we have having it is that true. It should have subsidiary. Would the subsidiary be just define it? It have controlling power. එකක් දෙන්න කොහොම කියලා කිව්වා අපි control කියන වචනේ කොතනද තියෙන්නේ from website one there is one as a definition is given as a definition BSAA says that either resource we have as a result of past event and we are controlling to third future benefit. That can be measured directly. That can be. So then, what method asset definition එකක් තේරෙනව නේද? Relevant activities, evaluating what gives power over those activities, assessing whether holder is exposed to variable returns. මේකේ asset definition එක තමයි in other words කතා කරන්නේ. As a result of past event. As a result of past event, we are controlling a resource with having future economic benefits. That future economic benefit can be measured reliably. So then, that future economic benefit means variable return. That variable return will be controlled by the parent company. Then only you have to do the consolidation. Right? I hope you are comfortable. තව theory කතා කරොත් එපා වෙනවා නේ. දැනට we have kind of a good understanding about at which point we need to do consolidation, what is the assumption we should have before do the consolidation, right? So that we have set of theories to discuss to justify the power, everything, right? We'll discuss slowly. If we are getting this one bulk, maybe kind of a conclusion. So then up to now, what we have to have basic understanding. Make it important. So then the example, right? We discuss this as well. Here we have a business activity. So then you can decide whether it's indicating the power, who is the party having control ownership. That identify the relevant activities. Two investors from an investee to develop and market the medical product. Company, investors are then two investors from an investee to develop and market a medical product. So then here we have two activities. One is relating to obtaining kind of a regulatory approval. Other one is about manufacturing and marketing. Both are business activities. Right? So then determine which activity most significantly affects the return. So then as an investor, you may have different activities with the responsibility or kind of a work allocation. So then you need to decide relevant activities to the return. මොකක්ද මොන activity එකද වැඩිපුරම බලපාන්නේ? Variable return. Second one, right? Second one, that's just a matter of starting the business, right? After starting, this will impact to the variable return. So then, most relevant activity is the second one. It's very judgmental. කොහොමද කියන්නේ? වාට කියනවා නෑ අරක නැත්තම් මේක වෙන්නේ නෑ කියලා. එහෙම කියන්න. But you need to face with the substance. Right? Telefaris, yes, standard 10 ki example 7 or 9. That one. Telefaris 10. Telephone state. Example 9. Let me give one. So standard is giving examples, right? Standard controller reading example. Okay. You are having several examples. Here example 9. Right? Example 9, it clearly says investor hold 70% of voting rights of an investee. Investor B has 30% of voting right of the investee, as well as option to acquire half of investor A's voting rights. කොහොමද කියන්නේ? තේරුණාද කියන එක? පේන්නේ නැති ළමයින්ට එහා පැත්තේ. How about that? මොකක්ද ඒ කියන්නේ? කොන්සෝල් ගණන් හදන එක ලේසි නේද? මේක තමයි අමාරු. හැබැයි මේක ටෙස්ට් කරන්නේ නැහැ සෑම. මේක ටෙස්ට් කරොත් තව අමාරු වෙනවා නේද? පාට essay paper එකක්. මේ වගේ case study එකක්. මේ example 9. තව තියෙන example set එකක් set. Bigger example. Scenario wise. ඒතකොට මෙහෙම එකක් දීලා justify කරන්න කියලා දුන්නොත් කොහොමද? console ගන්න නැතුව. Too complex. The evaluation and the relationships really difficult, right? We have a company, maybe Star PLC. A holds 70%. A holds 70%. And then B holds 30%. 30%. It clearly says 30% B having kind of option to purchase half of A share in any time. It may be called option. 50% of A shares can be purchased by B anytime. Clearly says acquire half of investor A's voting rights. The option is exercisable for the next 2 years at a fixed price that is displayed out of the money and is expected to remain so for that 2 years period. Investor A has been exercising its votes and is actively directing the relevant activities. A has been exercising its votes and is actively directing the relevant activities of the investees. Relevant activities දැන් කරගෙන යන්නේ කවුද? A. A කරගෙන යන්නේ. හැබැයි B ට මොන වෙලාවක? දැන් කවුද තේරෙන්නේ? මම ප්‍රශ්නේ නේ. A කරගෙන යන්නේ main activities. B having option to purchase that. How you can going to justify that whether you are going to consolidate or not? දැන් මෙහෙම දීලා මේ critical decision එක console ගන්නකො හරි දෙනවා. console කරනවද නැද්ද කියන එක තමයි decide කරන්නේ. මේ decision එකේ තමයි console කරනවද නැද්ද කියන decide. What you have to do? We have option. We need to compare the possibility to. In the standard, we have 3 status: possible, probable, and remote. Possibility, not probability, right? You can evaluate the possibility of exercising this option, right? What you have to do? you have to check the market price of shares, and the fixed price, agreed fixed price. මොකක්ද කියලා තියෙන්නේ පැහැදිලිව කියලා තියෙන බ්‍රැකට් ඇතුලේ fixed price එකක් ඇග්‍රී වෙලා තියෙන්නේ මෙයා. Here the share එක maybe 100% 100 rupee. So then B has 30% stake. Anytime we can purchase 50% of A share, one share per 100 rupee. Fixed price given. If we are having a fixed price, what we have to do? We have to cross-check this fixed price with the market price. Let's say market price shows 120. Yes, highly possible to losing the control. Why? Market එක 120 තියෙන දේ මට 100ට හම්බ වෙනවා නොගෙනින්න. ඒක බලලා decide කරන්න. බලලා decision එකක් කියන්න ඕනේ. Yes, there's a high possibility to do this transaction. Because of that, the parent company is B company. They are having the controlling power. Right? These type of things can be tested. මේ ගියේ example 9ට ගියේ. අතන අපි කතා කරේ හිටිය නිසා we'll discuss all those things, right? මම plan කරා example wise assignment එකක් දෙන්න. ඔයාලට බලන්න මේක කරන්න. එහෙම කරන්නේ නැතුව මේ එහෙම කරොත් ලොකු ප්‍රශ්නයක් වෙනවනේ. මේ so we'll discuss one by one, right? Right. Now we know, right, what we are going to do, how we can justify that as a subsidiary. I hope you are clear. In this theoretical aspect, we'll discuss some more later. Right. So we have a group and then we have subsidiary company. Because of subsidiary company, we are going to do consolidation. To justify this consolidation, we need to justify control. To do the control justification, we have some more theory part to discuss. Right? So then some of the things here we discuss. Through this discussion, this conclusion is a very critical conclusion. Justification of control, justification of power. right? Your involvement should be there to justify this. It's a critical aspect. Through just this justification, we conclude that we have the control. We have the control. With this assumption, we are starting. Now we are starting consolidation, right? Now we are starting consolidation. මොකද්ද assumption එක? මෙතන මේ decision එක. ඔය decision එක ගන්න තව expert කෙනෙක් වෙන්න ඕන. ඔය පොඩි දේවල් ටිකක් තමයි දැන් ගන්න. Right? So then you need to justify the control over the business activities to change your variable return. To be relevant activity. The decision of relevant activities is very critical. You should have a proper understanding of doing that. We assume that according to this decision, you are getting a positive answer. What's the positive answer? You are having the control, right? Because of that, we are going to do the consolidation, right? Now we are going to do the consolidation. And now the consolidation. Now we are going to do the consolidation because of this thought process. Right? So, Here we have a question. In the exam, there may be this set of relevant activities plus the voting right. How you can decide? The examiner can give voting rights, maybe 80%, 20%. You are having set of activities as well. How we are going to decide that? The controlling power. That's the issue. So then normally activities will be divided based on voting rights. Then better the voting rights start at the very breadth. Activity be that's why he has taken the activity which will relate to the return. Yeah, they are the voting right taker. Vadipura use karla. So then they have taken the activity too. So then all the activities answer level local activities. Sorry. Oh, return take a Vadipura. තියෙනවා මේ මම අටපිරිකර කියන. ඒවා හඳුනාට පස්සේ තේරම ගිහින් දෙන්න පොඩි නම් නෑ තේරම ගන්න කොහොමද? ඒ රිටර්න් වැඩිපුරම හඳුනන ඇක්ටිවිටීස් බෙදෙන්නේ කොහොමද? So whatever the position, whatever the forum you are in, if you are heading, so the main activities will be allocated to the person who are having more power. It's kind of a not a negative relationship, it's very positive relationship. Power versus the relevant activities. Right? Keep in mind that all should be in line. Right? Good question. Right. Now we are going to do the consolidation. Right? Consolidation pattern right. So here we are going to do the consolidation, right? Consolidation will be done once you are doing kind of a acquisition of a subsidiary, right? Acquisition of a subsidiary. Right? So then once you are doing this acquisition of a subsidiary, the acquirer is the parent entity. Acquiree is the subsidiary. SLFRS 3 clearly says who is acquirer and acquiree, right? Acquirer and the acquiree. And here we have a acquisition date. Acquisition date. That's really important. Acquisition date. We have definition here. The date on is the acquirer obtained control of the acquiree. The date you took the control we justify as acquisition date. The date you got the control, right? We justify that as the acquisition date. So control formula control කියන එක තමයි ඉස්සෙල්ලා අපි කතා කරන්නේ. So that control, which date we got that control, which date we receive that power. At that date we consider as the acquisition date. That's really important. To that date, what we have to do? We should start the consolidation. Then we are going to start the consolidation at the point of you are getting the power acquisition. Yes. Right? Acquired date, acquisition date is a critical aspect. So then, once you are having kind of a console question, you need to decide which date you receive the acquisition right, acquisition power. So then, that day onwards, you have to do the consolidation. Now, console ගන්න කරාගෙන කරන්න කලින් මොනවද ගොඩක් දේවල් justify කරන්න තියෙනවා නේද? Control එක තියෙනවද? Control activities use වෙනවද? And then, කවදද control එක complete? From that onwards, you have to decide your consolidation. Right? So the A decision ටික තමයි අමාරු. So then, I hope you are comfortable with this now. Then, once you are doing this consolidation, acquisition date may be different dates like I explained last week. Your acquisition date may be laying different period of time, different dates. It may be year end, it may be start of the year, before the year, and the mid of the year. Different acquisition dates may be there. You may have step acquisitions. What you have to do there? Step acquisition. Step by step apply කරන්න. කොහොමද එහෙම කරන්නේ? Wow. Year එක 2024. This is the year 2023. This is 2022. 2022 mid you acquire 50%. Sorry, 5%. Another 10% acquired 2023. Now 15%. Right? Now 15%. Another 5% acquired here. Now 20%. Another 40% acquired here. Now 60%. Here we have acquisition dates. For acquisition dates, you need to justify that which point you start your consolidation. At which point you are going to start your consolidation? Here, here, here. So then you need to evaluate that scenario. Previously I mentioned that 50% also may be a parent power. So then that need to be evaluated. In general scenario, 50% may be not the controlling power. 20% also not, maybe a associate company, right? Significant influence. 60%, the date you acquire 60% over the entity, may be the point you need to do the consolidation. This is the acquisition date. These are the other purchases. This is the acquisition date of the control. This is the date you need to do the consolidation. So then read the question, understand the patterns of purchasing power, purchasing transaction, and decide what is the acquisition date. At that point onwards, you need to do the consolidation. So the year-end console fine. Statement of financial position එක ඉල්ලුවට console කරන්න පටන් ගන්න period එක, that's really important. You need to decide the period, right? Are you okay? So they need to do two decisions, critical decisions, whether you are going to have the control, which date you got the control. These two decisions will change your whole equation of the question, right? Was subsidiary තුනක්ද හතරක්ද console කරන්න. දීපු subsidiary දෙකම console කරනවා දෙකයිද console කරන්න. Right? That's important. එතකොට period එකයි subsidiary ගානේ. ගාන දෙන්නේ කොහොමද? A B C කියනනේ. B C දෙකම console කරනවද B විතරක්ද console කරන්නේ? ඒක important. B console කරන්න කවදින්දද C console කරන්න කවදින්දද? ඒක important. The entity and the period. That decision should be taken at the exam. So the examiner may not give straight away. You have to do this consolidation for A and B and C. You have to decide whether you are going to do the consolidation for A or AB or C. Which date you have to decide that. So that's the decision you have to take at the exam point. That's really important. Then after deciding which point you are going to consolidate, now onwards you can learn that, right? Now you know what are the companies you are going to consolidate and which date you have the acquisition, right? At the date onwards, you are starting your consolidation. I hope you are okay. Now, with the acquisition date, I am starting to do the consolidation, right? Consolidation. Once you are having the consolidation, there's a critical concept of calculating by goodwill. Consolidation is one of the business combination. Other than consolidation, other than acquisition of subsidiary, there may be mergers. It's not a subsidiary parent relationship. Subsidiary का parent can acquire करा. We are having two entities, right? If we are having a merger, merge now entities they are. Merge now entities they are. Once you are acquiring a company, we have two different entities, right? So then here we are discussing acquisition of entity. Once you are acquiring, at the point of acquisition, you may have a concept called goodwill. You need to calculate the goodwill of the acquired company. Goodwill should be calculated. This is the area we have more marks in the console question. Goodwill calculation of the acquisition. So which point we have to do the goodwill calculation? Acquisition date. When 5 ගත්ත දවසේ goodwill එක calculate කරනවා. වා සමහරවිට calculate කරගෙන නැති 5 acquire කරගත්ත දවසේ goodwill එක මෙච්චරයි. එතෙන්දි calculate කරන්න යන්න එපා. නේද? වා හරියටම calculate කරන්න ගන්න මෙඩින් එක දවසේ. දැන් තමයි හරියටම control එක හම්බෙන්නේ. නැත්නම් වා මේ දවස්වලදී වගේම goodwill එක calculate ඒක capitalize කරලා වාගේ books වල record කරගත්තොත් ඉතින් headache. Right? Don't do that. So then acquisition date, the point you got the control, you have to do the goodwill calculation. Why? Why we have to do that? Goodwill is a asset. To recognize asset, what you have to have control. Right? Basic asset definition. To identify an asset, you should have the control. At which stage you got the control? Acquisition date. So then it's obvious that you have to calculate the goodwill at the acquisition date. No argument. Argument is very. They are known now. Acquisition date again, goodwill calculate. Why? That date, acquisition date, you are getting the control. You can wear it. Right. So then goodwill. Goodwill generated from business combination. You can calculate two set of goodwill for a company. Two calculations you can according to the standard. You have two options. It may be full goodwill or maybe proportionate goodwill, right? Goodwill may be full goodwill or proportionate goodwill. Full goodwill or proportionate goodwill. So before we are learning this, we should know what is a goodwill. What is a goodwill? Is that a identical tangible element in organization, or can we recognize that to particular different asset individual? We need to ask some of the questions from goodwill. What it means to you? Why we are creating a goodwill here? What's the reason for having a goodwill? What's the power of goodwill? Is that an asset? These are the questions we can ask from this word, goodwill. So then always we are dealing with book values, right? We have not created any internally generated goodwill, internally generated intangible asset in organization. Without having this type of a business combination or acquisition, you are not planning to calculate goodwill and record it in the books, right? As a standard, in case 38, this is prohibited to calculate internally generated intangible asset. Internally generated intangible asset was prohibited by case 38. So then, because of that, we can't calculate our or individual company goodwill and record in the books. So then, this goodwill element will be there in organization, but that element will not reflect in the books. Book value doesn't give that the goodwill indications, right? Goodwill element not captured in the books. What are the reasons for goodwill? Having business operation in the market, you may have different relationship, different positivities in your organization, right? From the market, you may have the expert employees. You may have the strongest brand name in the market, the quality items, unique machines. Your company has that, but you have recorded only the book values. You have only recorded the gratuity payment and the salary payment for staff, but it's creating kind of a book value. ඒක අපිට goodwill එක කියන්නේ මේක කියලා අපිට මේ define කරන්න අමාරුයි. හැබැයි company එක ඇතුලේ after having long process, after having relationship with the customers, you may have a goodwill within your organization. Right? So then that can't be identified for individual asset. Individual asset or may goodwill identify separately. As a combination, you are recognizing the goodwill. එකක් කොහොමද කියන්නේ? So then SAP එක මේ විකුණනවා එළියට. SAP එක විකුණනවා නම් විකුණන්න පුළුවන් ක්‍රම දෙකක් තියෙනවා. කොහොමද ක්‍රම දෙකක් තියෙන්නේ? SAP එකේ chairs මේ on the lecture කරන instruments ඒ set එක වෙනස් විකුණන්න. තමයි ටිකක් විකුණනවා. තමයි ටිකක් transcript එක දෙනවා. Lectures are coming to the building එක recommend එක. ඒක දෙන්න දෙයක් නැහැ තුන් කරන්නේ. දැන් මෙන්න. එහෙම ගුණන්න පුළුවන්. So we are selling separate assets. Or else what we can do? As a one organization, we can sell it out. Once you are selling it out as a one organization, you may receive more value than the previous option. What's the value you are getting? That's called goodwill. As a combination of assets, you are having some more value than the individual asset. That is called goodwill, in other words, right? So then that goodwill we can't allocate to each and every element, each and every asset item. One lectures like goodwill එක මෙච්චරයි, ළමයින්ගේ goodwill එක මෙච්චරයි, brand name එකේ goodwill එක මෙච්චරයි. We can't do that. So then goodwill will be identified for overall asset. So what's the definition? Standard definition. Then an asset representing the future economic benefit arising from other assets acquired in a business combination that are not individually identified and separately recognized. That is the definition for goodwill. Each and every word we have meaning. Right? But it says, as an asset representing future economic benefits arising from other assets acquired in a business combination. අපි business combination එකකින් ගත්ත asset set එකක් නිසා තමයි we are having this asset, right? But after having this asset, we can't individually identify and separately recognize. So that we can't separately recognize the goodwill for students, goodwill for lectures, goodwill for the brand name. As a combination, we recognize that as a goodwill. That's what I explained. Right? Goodwill is the combined concept. සයින් කරන්න දීපු මේකේ තියෙන්නේ වෙන කට්ටියගේ නේද? මේක අවුරුදු වෙලාවකුත් නෑ. අදාළ කියන්නේ දීපු මේක මේ වැරදි ලිස්ට් එකක් තියෙන්නේ කියන්නේ. Right. I hope you're comfortable with this goodwill concept. Goodwill එක දැන් ඉතින් සුඹරක පෙන්නන්න අපි ෆීස් ටියුන් එකේ නම් සම්පත පෙන්නන්න එකක් කියන්නේ. goodwill එක පෙන්නන්න එක යනවා කියලා කියන්නේ නැහැ. ඒක කරන්නේ. goodwill එක ඒ විදිහට understand කරගන්න ඕනේ. So that is kind of an intangible asset that is created by overall quality, overall standard. Kind of we can define that as it's a power of attracting customers. In other words, the goodwill. It will create future economic benefit. Why? Because we are attracting customers. That's another power. Individual books, we not recorded it. I didn't record the Wednesday. Why we are recording this? එහෙනම් දිගටම රෙකෝඩ් නොකර ඉන්න තිබුණා. ඉන්ඩිවිජුවල් බුක් කරන රෙකෝඩ් කරන්න එපා කියනවා 838 එකේ. දැන් අපි කිව්ලා මේක රෙකෝඩ් කරනවා. ඇයි එහෙම සිටුේෂන් එකකට එන්නේ? පර්චේස් කරන්න වෙන නිසා. පර්චේස් කරනවා දැන් මේ. මේකටත් වැලියු එකක් දෙන්න. අපි කියනවා internal generated goodwill. sorry internal generated intangible asset එක ඩිෆයින් කරගන්න එක වාක්‍යයක්. අපේ customer list එකේ internal generated goodwill එකේ intangible asset එක. එතකොට අපි ඒක purchase කරනවා. ඒකත් recognize කරනවා. يعني එළියෙන් purchase කරනවා. So we have to recognize that as a customer list. So then anytime so we don't recognize our customer list. So we may have then certificate students ලා set එක certificate books වලුත් ළමයි number of students කියලා asset එකක් create කරලා දෙනවා books වල. ඒකට create කරලා. So the number of students කියලා asset එකක්. ඒකේ තව number of students list කියන එක. So kind of internally generated intangible asset. Intangible asset. හැබැයි certificate ළමයි set එකක්. ළමයි let's say 500 students will purchase from some other university. So then they come up with the agreement. So then they are ready to send 500 students in second year level. So then we need to pay something to them. As SAP we are paying something. So then what's the double entry? Cash credit, debit to student list. Internally generated एक record करना है. Purchase करने को करना. So then here we had internally generated goodwill. We didn't recognize, but once we are selling the stake of the subsidiary, we have a purchase value. At that point, we need to recognize. Where you are recognizing this goodwill? Where you are going to recognize this goodwill? After that, we have three set of books. We have parent company, subsidiary company, parent consolidation. Individual parent company books we have. Individual subsidiary books we have. Parent company consolidated books we have. We have to recognize the goodwill in this. Not in this. Right? We have to recognize the goodwill in the books of consolidated financial statement of the parent company. ඒ පොඩි දේවල් වැදගත්. නේද? දැන් ඔයා කන්සෝල් ගන්න දීලා හදාගෙන ගියාට දන්නේ නැහැ මේ parent consolidation එක තමයි කරන්න කියලා. එහෙම වුණොත් full plan කරනවා. So then you are doing the consolidation for the parent entity. You have to recognize that in the parent company consolidated numbers. That's called consolidated goodwill. Right? I hope you are comfortable with the goodwill concept now. Okay, so now I'm going to calculate goodwill, right? Calculate goodwill and identify the full goodwill and the proportionate goodwill. Okay, right. That's people. So then here A company acquiring B company. A company acquiring B company. Let's say 80%. 20% with the NCI. Here we can consider this 80% having the power is the parent company. Power over the control, right? And then a company purchasing 80%, purchasing means they are giving kind of a consideration. They are giving kind of a consideration. So the B company is a single entity. Single entity, they are having internally generated goodwill. Goodwill. Internally generated goodwill, but they have not recorded. They have not recorded. They are keeping the book values in the financial statement. Right? So they are keeping book values. Sometimes they are not using the revaluation method as well. Right? They are just keeping the book values. Cost. So then this company will be purchased by A company here. A company now trying to give a kind of a purchase consideration. We are giving some money to this company to buy 80% stake. So then to 80% stake, we are giving this much of money. Let's say we are giving this company, according to the book value, net assets 100. Net asset here, Manuel. Net assets here. We may have different justification for net assets. It may be an equity. It may be total asset minus total liabilities. Right? Net assets. Net assets 100%. So this from 100, 80% you are purchasing. It means 80. To purchase 80, a ready to pay 120. 120. It means you have a 40 goodwill. Basic understanding. Basic understanding. We paid 120. We paid 120. We are getting 80. You are paying some excess money to buy 80. Why? That's a kind of a negotiation, right? Once you are having that negotiation, they are asking much money to give 80% stake. Why? We have not recorded fair value. We have not recorded the competency of people. We have not recorded internally generated goodwill. Because of that, our share price is not the book value of the share price. Right? They are supposed to give 120 for 80 stake. So then this can be justified as the goodwill. Purchase consideration versus the acquired equity. It's a goodwill like here, not ඒක තමයි අපේ කියන්නේ maybe proportionate goodwill. Yes, proportionate goodwill. Full goodwill and proportionate goodwill. Option දෙකක් දෙනවා standard එක. මේ option දෙකක් දෙනවා. මේ option දෙකක් දෙනවා. හොඳට වා තේරුම් ගන්න ඕන මොකද්ද මේ full goodwill කියන්නේ මොකද්ද මේ proportionate goodwill. දෙකම කරන්න පුළුවන් මොනවද? Both methods can be used for whatever the company. හැබැයි you are US company එකක් ලියාගන්න. US company එකක් නම් US GAAP එක allow කරන්නේ මොකද්ද? Full goodwill විතරයි. US GAAP එක. US GAAP allow only full goodwill method. එහෙනම් full goodwill වෙන්නේ නැති මොකද? Full goodwill method එක වෙන්නේ නැති best one. එකක් කියලා දෙන්නේ. ඇයි පට්ට කරන්නේ? ඒක වෙන්නේ. So then IFRS, SLFRS allow to use both methods, full goodwill and the proportionate goodwill. Proportionate goodwill means you are calculating, as a parent company, you are calculating the goodwill portion for your investment only. Your portion only. Right? You are investing 80%. You calculate the goodwill only for 80%. That is called proportionate goodwill. Right? You calculated right. Once you are acquiring 80%, you just calculate the goodwill for your acquisition only. The part relates to your investment. It's called proportionate goodwill. Full goodwill means you are calculating the goodwill for overall company. Overall company. It means as a B company, the B company, as a whole company, it may have a goodwill that can be calculated. You are investing 80%, 80% investment may have a goodwill. හැබැයි ඔයා calculate කරන goodwill එක කාගේ books වලද ඔයා දාන්නේ නැත්තේ? මෙයාගේ books වල වෙලාවකවත් ඔයා දාන්නේ නැහැ. ඔයා දාගන්නේ කොහෙද? ඔයා 80% invest කරන්නේ ඔයා goodwill එක දාන්නේ කොහෙද? ඔයාගේ console books වල. You are keeping that goodwill in your console book. So console book වල ඔයාගේ justification එක ගන්න ඔයා මොකද කරන්න යන්නේ? ඔයාගේ portion එක විතරක් දාගන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ company ම asset එක දාගන්න. The goodwill specified to your investment can be considered as asset in your console books, or else full asset for the company. The options, both options were given in the standard. හැබැයි logical මොකක් වගේ කියන්නේ? මේක logical කියලා හිතනවා. මොකද වා හැම asset එකම. So whatever all the assets you recognize in the console book as a whole value. In the console book, like I discussed last week, you have a land 5 million. You have a land 5 million in console book. In console book, are you recognizing 4 million as a land? 4 million as a land? No. 5 million into 80%, 4 million you are not going to recognize. You are recognizing the whole land. Why? Whole land will be controlled by you by using 80% stake, right? In that same logic, In the B company, you are having overall whole goodwill, right? Full goodwill. That full goodwill will be controlled by you. Wow, goodwill again. See, result may control करना. See, the aswak man control करना के लिए क्या plan? Full goodwill, full asset will be controlled by you. Because of that, you can recognize the full goodwill in your because you recognize other asset in a full way, full as a whole, right? But here you are recognizing a proportionate goodwill. That's why you just justify that you can't recognize proportionate goodwill. It should be full goodwill. If you are recognizing other asset in fully, you have recognized the full goodwill in the books. But IFRS allowed to do both. Why? What's the reason? So then calculating full goodwill may create a kind of a complexity or very expensive, right? To do the fair valuation, to do the fair valuation of NCI, may be expensive, may be complex. That's why we go with the proportionate method. A. Proportionate goodwill. This is the formula. මේ formula එක අපි බලන්න නැතුව අපි බලමු මේ overall goodwill formula එක මේක understand කරගන්න කලින් we have a formula like this. What upload කරලා ඇති මම So then here we have a formula like this according to the standard definition. What do you mean by this? This is the standard definition. Standard definition here, the underlying para, standard definition. And standard clearly says how we are going to calculate it. According to that definition, we have a formula like this. Try to understand the content of the goodwill by using this formula. Goodwill equal consideration transferred plus amount of non-controlling interest, fair value of previous equity interest, net minus net asset recognized. Standard clearly says goodwill is measured as of difference between first one and second one. First one clearly says this three. Consideration transferred, amount of non-controlling interest, fair value of previous equity interests, minus net asset recognized. That is called goodwill. දැන් අර කියපු දේ එතනින් ආපු පිච් එක අතනින් එනවද කියන එක තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ. නොකියනවා කියන තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒක තමයි ස්ටෑන්ඩඩ් එකේ කියන්නේ. එම goodwill එක calc කරන්නේ. So then you need to understand what's the logic behind that. How you can do double entries. How you can identify full goodwill and the proportionate goodwill. Make a කරන්න කලින් you need to understand this. What it says, goodwill equal consideration transfer. Goodwill equal ළමයි අහගන්න මොකද මේක මාර important. Goodwill calculation එක තමයි ලොකුම ලකුණු ගාණක් හම්බෙන්නේ console එක. Goodwill equal consideration transfer. Consideration transfer. මේ බෝඩ් එකේ තියෙන එක ලියන්න. Consideration transfers by the parent company. Let's say a company consideration plus amount of non-controlling interest. Amount of non-controlling interest. NCI amount. NCI amount. Plus fair value of the previous equity interest. Fair value of previous equity interest. Okay. You cannot know the birth come up there legally. Why? That is a consideration if you had previous equity interest. If you had previous equity interest. If you don't have, this is zero. What's the previous equity interest? So method method එකක් ගන්න මන්ද. අපෙන්දී. එහෙම ඇඳලා 5%, 10%. අපලද ඇඳලා. ඔව්. මේ හරියට ඇවිල්ලා කිව්වා මේ හරිය තමයි 60% එන්නේ. So this is the acquisition date. At the acquisition date, you are going to recognize the goodwill. At the acquisition date, you are going to recognize the goodwill. So then, once you are recognizing the goodwill, you may have previously acquired equity interest. So then, you have to value previously acquired equity interest as well. So then your consideration, what do you mean by your consideration? Now you are giving cash plus previously you have a kind of a holding. That holding also should be evaluated. Why? That holding represents this 60%. Are you getting what I am getting? What is 20% stake එකක්. 20% stake එකක් තියෙනවා. So we can justify that as associate company, right? Equity method. The value of this maybe 5 million. We are telling that we want another like 60%, 60% for 20 million, 20 million. So then what's your consideration now? 4. After having the 60%, you are having 80% ownership. 80% ownership. To have the 80% ownership, what's the consideration? 20 million plus 5 million. 25 million. You are getting the 80% ownership. So then it's important to get the previously acquired, previously identified equity interest, right? And then minus the subsidiary. Subsidiary. So this is the whole equation for goodwill. Make it the full goodwill the proportionate in the manual day. Full goodwill or the proportionate goodwill. You can't say that. That depends on the this one. That depends on NCI. Whether this is the fair value or not. Fair value or not. If it is fair value, this goodwill. It is a book value, it's proportionate goodwill. That area. It is fair value. They want a complex area. We come to me something to make become. This is the simple consideration. Consideration. The consideration. Consideration minus net assets of the entity. Net assets of the entity. Is the consideration. Consideration will be given by two parties for it. Your company, cash consideration, and the NCI. And this is again a consideration which is related to your company. I make up මෙතන ගත්තේ standard එකේ standard එකේ මේක නෑ. මේ chart එක තියෙන්නේ standard එකේ you are having this diagram, this paragraph, right? This paragraph says this formula. So then this diagram will be there at this IFRS. Yes. Once you are searching IFRS 3, IFRS 3, you can go to the international financial reporting site. Right? So then that site clearly says this formula. I get that formula from there. Right. So then here I have given the partial goodwill formula and the full goodwill formula. Full goodwill formula, partial goodwill formula. And here the overall formula. If you get that from a product, confused here. This is the goodwill formula, right? Goodwill formula. Goodwill can be calculated based on full goodwill method or the proportionate goodwill method. That will be decided based on the NCI. Now, the here the proportionate goodwill formula: acquisition price, consideration, acquisition percentage, fair value of the subsidiary. Right? Full goodwill means fair value of the subsidiary. Sorry. Full goodwill, fair value of the subsidiary. Yeah, fair value of the subsidiary. Correct. Fair value of the subsidiary minus fair value of subsidiaries identifiable net assets. That's full goodwill. Okay. Now I'm going to do a calculation after having these definitions right here and there. So then after having this calculation, you can understand what we are discussing here, right? Right? So then here we have a question, example, right? A company purchased B company, 80% stake. B company is as at the acquisition date, 500,000, 500, let's say, right? 500. A company to acquire 80%, they have given 600 consideration, right? 600 consideration. So, what's your proportionate goodwill? What's your proportionate goodwill? Very simple. How we are going to calculate that? Net assets of the subsidiary, net assets 500 into 80%. 500 into 80%. How much? 100. You are going to give the purchasing value. Purchase consideration. What is this? This is proportionate goodwill. Proportionate goodwill. Proportionate goodwill 200. Okay. Once how are you going to calculate that in the debit credit entries? How are you going to calculate that? Cost of control account. This is a temporary account. You are paying to calculate goodwill, right? Cost of control account. The temporary account, like the T account, we have debit credit. So then the purpose of having this account to calculate goodwill, right? We have a consideration of 600. Cash consideration, debit cost of control account. Debit cost of control account. Net assets, how much? 500,000. NCA book value, this equals this. NCI book value. NCI book value. Here we have taken NCI book value. Why? We discuss based on the how we are getting NCI will be reflected whether it's you are calculating proportionate goodwill or full goodwill, right? Here what we have taken the book value, right? The book value. In the question, it clearly says that the fair value of fair value of fair value of net assets. If question says fair value of net assets, fair value of net assets, they never have question. Net assets කියනවා කියා කියලාද? 800. Fair value of net assets of the subsidiary 800. Make up any net assets kiyද කිව්වේ? Book value 500 is the book value. We have not recorded internally generated goodwill or any fair valuation, no. So that we have not done any, fair value adjustment. 500 book value shows 800 fair value, right? 800 fair value. So then how are we going to calculate full goodwill? Purchase consideration. Now we are going to calculate full goodwill, right? NCI fair value. NCI fair value. How much? Right? This is the full goodwill. This is a full goodwill relating to NCI and the company. Full goodwill, right? Here we have 204 proportionate goodwill. That is only related to parent company, right? Parent company. Full goodwill 260. Why? This was increased to because of this increase to here. මොකද මේකේ reflect වෙන්නේ to purchase 500 amount of net assets. We have a consideration of 760, right? 760. Who are the parties giving consideration? 600 from parent company, right? 160 from NCI. Total demand 760. 764 500 net assets. How much the overall goodwill, overall consideration versus net assets? 260. Simple, right? So then that's the equation, right? Goodwill equal consideration transferred. Consideration transferred in the sense this one. Amount of non-controlling interest. Now we have taken the fair value. Fair value. මෙතෙන්දී මම කිව්වා මෙතන ගන්න fair value එකද book value එකද මත depend on this if you decide full goodwill or the proportionate goodwill, right? Proportionate goodwill. So then here in this question we don't have this part. We don't have this part. Minus net asset recognized. Minus net asset recognized. How much? 500. 500. Net assets always same. දැන් මේ සේරම ලින්ක් වෙන විදිහට තමයි ලියලා දෙන්නේ. full confuse නිකුත් understand කරලා පොතේ මේවා මේ ඉරි ඇඳගත්ත කට්ටියට මෙතනින් මේ ඉර මෙහෙම යනකොට මේ ඉරි දෙක මෙතනින් නවතින්න ඕන කියලා. එතකොට මුකුත් තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ. මේ ඉර මෙතනින් මෙහෙම යන්න ඕන. එහෙම මෙතනින් නවතින්න ඕන. එහෙම ඇඳගත්ත කට්ටියට මුකුත් තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ. So then what we have done is we have given the common formula. Through that common formula we discuss how we are going to calculate proportionate goodwill and the full goodwill, right? This is a proportionate goodwill, this is a full goodwill, this is a double entry, right? Whatever the goodwill, you have recognized credit here, debit to goodwill account. What goodwill account? COC account again, cost of control account again. Which side you are getting? From the credit side. Credit here, debit to goodwill account 200. Right? If you are having kind of a negative goodwill, that gain on bargain purchase. Gain on bargain purchase, how you are going to account? Again, may bad. Yes. So you are getting here, right? So the method is debit side from the COC account, debit side from the COC account, debit here, credit to gain on bargain purchase account, credit to there, right? Gain on bargain purchase again, credit side again. So whatever the consideration you are giving is lesser than the net assets. ඒක මොකක් මොන වගේ කම්පැනියක් වෙන්නද? ඒ කියන්නේ කිසිම පොලිටි එකක් නැති කම්පැනියක් වෙන්නද නේද? So then the net assets value, they don't have quality or the process within the company, or they don't have a goodwill. Then the much value according to the book value, the consideration given less than that. Gain on bargain purchase, right? So then gain on bargain purchase, if you are having this here, full gain on bargain purchase, sorry, that's a proportionate now. This should be transferred to consolidated retained earnings, right? Consolidated retained earnings. Right. And then, if you have calculated full goodwill method, you are getting gain on bargain purchase. That relate to both companies, right? Both companies. So then this should be transferred to subsidiary subsidiary return earnings account, subsidiary return earnings account, subsidiary return earnings account එක අන්තිම මොකද වෙන්නේ? තාම දන්නේ නැහැ. කොන්සෝල් හදාගෙන යනකොට තේරෙනවා. Subsidiary return earnings account එක at the latter part. So after finalizing subsidiary return earnings account, what we do is once you finalize it, the balance we need to split to both parties, parent and the NCI. Parent portion will be credited to consolidated, right? And the NCI part will be credited to NCI account. So then ultimately that will transfer there. Otherwise, what you have to do? If you are not putting this gain on bargain purchase to subsidiary account, what you have to do is proportionate that and credit to consolidated earning, and other part should be credited to NCI. Right? Simple. I hope you are comfortable. Net assets versus consideration. Concept should be there. Concept should be identified. Proportionate goodwill and full goodwill, right? And the other part, the complexity is the consideration. Consideration should be this part. And මෙතන කෙලින්ම කිව්ව නේද? Purchase price 600. Very straightforward. 600. This is again a complex task to get the consideration. This is a pretty straightforward consideration. You may have different consideration. Consideration may consist with different elements. Right. So then it may be cash, it may be kind of an asset or land or FD or whatever the available. You had a equity shares previously. Now you are giving that as a consideration. That's why we have taken as consideration. To take the ownership, we are giving that. Right. So likewise, we may have a contingent consideration as well. So then calculating the consideration may be challenging task. So then example one. Question. Determine the value of investment. Basically, the consideration. What was the key? Now the goodwill like a goodwill consideration. Yes, so there we have to decide the consideration, right? Consideration. To acquire 80%, these are the things we are giving. Here, here is the acquired 100% from 80%. To acquire 100%, what we are giving? We can give directly cash. Other than that, we have several payments. What are they? There are 3 elements. It should be 4 elements. Mama Ghana. We get a element එකක් further, yeah. Oh yes, agreed given consultation service to burden for free of charge till 31st December 2026. Right? The average 1-year consultation charge is 1 million. So then that should be, there are 4 elements. The purchase consideration. Immediate payment 5 million. That's a cash consideration, right? What's the question here? They acquire 100% of B. Bird, right? B. To acquire B, they have given consideration. Directly cash there. Directly cash there. Healthcare 5 million. 5 million direct cash. And two further payments of healthcare 1 million. If the return on capital employed ROCE exceeds 10% in each of the subsequent financial years ending 31st December. Two further payments. All further payments of healthcare 1 million if the return on capital employed exceeds in each of the subsequent financial years. All indicators have suggested that this target will be met. You see, use a discount rate 7% in any percent value calculation. Further, you see, agree to give consultation service to Burton for free of charge till 30th December 2026. The average 1 year consultation charge healthcare 1 million. So then here we have three considerations. What is that? First, cash consideration. Second, contingent consideration. Third, some service element. Right? Service element, there is no contingency. That is sure. That is fixed. It's not a contingent consideration. There is no contingent activity. But here, this is a contingent consideration. What's the term contingent? What's the definition? Contingent, contingent asset, contingent liabilities. So then, contingent liability is a possible obligation to outflow cash. Possible, right? Not probable. Probable can it what? Probable, possible, and remote, right? Possible consideration. So then this possibility should be evaluated. So then to evaluate that possibility, they have given a kind of indication. Right? They have given a kind of indication. So a contingent consideration is a gun if it is only possible, right? Possible, right? So then they have given the possibility, and then what you have to do? The 1 million, 2 years, 1 million, and second year 1 million. So then 2 years you have to discount by using 7%, right? And the service charge, this consultation service, that's also a kind of a 2-year period should be discounted. So by using 7%, not 10%, right? You have to discount to the present value and get both, add to the 5 million, or 1, 2, 3. We consider as the purchase consideration. Right. Purchase consideration, COC account, this point should be debited here. We are going to credit cash credit 5 million cash to contingent consideration, credit contingent consideration liability. At that point, we have to pay, and we have to incur cost of this much for the service. We have to put that to the credit account. If we recognize that as income, intercompany income, that should be transferred to income account. That depends on your fee. Right. So then this is very important. Evaluation of the contingent status. That's really important. අපි paper එකක් බලන්න ගන්න. paper එකේ වෙලාවත් ඇවිල්ලා නේ. So then here we have question, right? Cat, you can see the management of Alpha PLC agreed to pay further 1 million. Further 1 million in 4 years if Beta received a 7-star rating. Hotel එකට 7-star rating එක හම්බුනොත් within another 4 years it will give another 1 million. Rating within 2 years. Identify within 2 years, right? එතකොට දැන් මොකද කියන්නේ? It's a kind of contingent consideration. We need to pay 1 million if you are having 7-star rating. In the adjustment, දැන් ඔයා මේක බලලා ඉවර වෙලා goodwill calculation සේරම ඉවර කරොත් ඔයා adjustment සේරම කියනවනේ goodwill finalize කරන්න. මෙතන කියනවා as per the capital budget, Beta should incur about 2.5 million in a cost to renovation to achieve the 7-star rating. Right? As a result of high interest rate in the country, management has decided to postpone the renovation until 2027. So then it indicates the doubt of getting 7-star rating. මේක කියන්නේ 7-star rating down වෙනවා කියලා. මේක කොහොමද count කරන්නේ කියලා separate බැලුවොත් අරකට මේක link කරගන්න ඕනේ. Right? So then it's creating a contingent consideration. I get it? Contingent consideration to achieve the 7-star rating. To achieve the 7-star rating, there's a 2.5 million budget. According to the current situation in the country, මේ question එක හැදුවේ interest rate වැඩි කාලේ. So then, according to the current situation in the country, it's really difficult to finance this. Because of that, we are planning to postpone till 2027. So then, within 2 years, you can't achieve that. So then, no consideration. You need to justify that. Goodwill calculation එක අරන් තිබුණොත් double mark අඩු වෙනවා. Goodwill එකත් වැරදි. මේ adjustment එකට ලකුණු හම්බෙන්නේ. Right. So then, that's a practical aspect. So then, I hope you had a technical session today. So then we'll continue the same momentum for next week. So then I have covered most of the criteria adjusted according to the sentence. Yeah. You are having